In the justice system, the people are represented by separate yet equally important entities: the police who investigate and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories. Previously on Law and Other.
Cy. His name was Cy Claiborne. There is this new guy, Jimmy. Came wandering in a couple weeks ago looking for work.
I ran him through the system. He's got a healthy rap sheet. Drunk and disorderly, possession, assault. Yeah, I guess he's got baggage.
Sure, I know him. I ain't seen him around, though. Don't expect to be showing his face anytime soon, either. He owes too many people too much money.
It's a matter of whether you're going to get the death penalty or life in prison.
I need a lawyer.
I'm so sorry. I know you didn't want to be disturbed, but your son is on the phone for you. It's not Jonathan, it's James.
Jimmy? Gentlemen, this interrogation is over. Did you kill that Cy fellow?
No.
Really? Who else was looking for Jimmy?
Couple of thugs.
These guys aren't really friendly when they want their money.
You should come over tonight. We're having a big dinner to celebrate.
Celebrate? Celebrate what?
Celebrate your brother being home. Can I have your attention, please? I'd like to propose a toast to James Allister, my son, who is once again home where he belongs.
Dad, please. I don't deserve all this.
Who said you did? This is a family celebration. You're part of this family, aren't you? You were gone and you were missed. And now you're home, and that's enough.
You've done so much for me, and you're defending me in court. I don't think this is too much, and everything points to me being guilty.
And what does that have to do with anything? Innocent's innocent.
Well, Jonathan's convinced that I'm guilty and wants to see me hang.
Did you kill anyone?
No.
That's that. Why are you pushing so hard against your own brother?
My brother died 3 years ago.
No, he didn't.
He did to me whenever he decided to go off on his get-rich-quick real estate scheme, whining and dining and spending your money and whatever else. He made his choice.
So you're upset he blew a bunch of my money?
He disappeared with your money without a trace, and then we didn't hear a peep from him for years. Then all of a sudden he murders someone, and now he's back in the family?
You've never made a mistake? You've never messed up?
Well, we're not talking about missing a doctor's appointment or forgetting to call on your birthday here, Dad.
Well, if I choose to let my son back in my life, if I choose to stand by him, well, he's my son, just like you are. I love you both.
Well, I guess you made your choice too.
Well, at least please talk to him.
I plan to.
Good.
In court. Detective, according to the medical examiner, the victim was stabbed in the heart with a hoof knife,
Yes, that is correct.
and you recovered a hoof knife at the scene of the crime?
Yes, it was in the barn, less than 30 yards from where Mr. Claiborne's body was discovered.
Was the knife examined and tested for blood and fingerprints?
Yes, the victim's blood was on the knife, as were several fingerprints.
Were James Allister's fingerprints identified on the weapon?
Yes.
No further questions.
Cross. Detective, were Cy Claiborne's prints on the knife?
Yes.
Were there prints from the Hogan family on the knife?
Yes.
How many different sets of prints were discovered, and were they all identified?
There were at least 6 different prints. Some were partials, so they were impossible to identify.
Thank you, Detective.
Miss Hogan, the defendant worked on your family farm, is that correct?
Yes, he was a farmhand for us for a short bit.
And he worked with the deceased Mr. Claiborne?
Technically, Mr. Claiborne, did all the hiring of staff around the farm.
So, what was Mr. Claiborne's impression of the defendant, Jimmy Allister?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Miss Hogan, were you aware of the fact that Mr. Claiborne wasn't happy with the defendant's performance and was about to fire him?
Yes, Cy told me Jimmy goes missing a lot and he might not work out.
Thank you. Your witness.
Miss Hogan, did Mr. Claiborne make it a habit of hiring subpar workers?
No, not really.
Not really?
Well, Cy had a soft heart. He liked to give people down on their luck a chance to prove themselves. He'd work with them closely and make sure they stayed on the straight and narrow.
So, did he do that for Jimmy?
Yes, Cy went out of his way to help Jimmy. But you can only help those who want the help.
What do you mean by that?
It didn't seem to me that Jimmy wanted help. He was always missing.
Take the deal. Involuntary manslaughter.
He didn't kill anyone.
Have you been in the same courtroom as me?
You have no hard evidence. You haven't proved anything. It's all circumstantial.
I proved Jimmy's as worthless as I thought he was.
Enough. He's your brother. He's my son. If you can't respect him as your brother, that's on you. But I'm not going to sit here and let you disrespect my son.
Oh, and what am I? I thought I was your son.
You are.
It doesn't feel like it. I've stood by you. How many events, holidays? I was there whenever you received the Weir Award. I was there at the banquet. I sat with you when Mom was in the hospital and she died. And where was Jimmy? He was out snorting, popping.
I'm grateful for you always being here, and I'm proud of all you've accomplished. But that doesn't change the fact you're both my sons.
Well, it should.
You any luck?
Well, Mr. Melotti's got a fairly large organization. I mean, he's hired muscle all over town. But one of his collectors really stands out, a man named Louis Figueroa. He's been accused and questioned in a number of violent altercations, all of them tied to Mickey's business dealings, including, get this, a couple disappearances. He hangs around with a guy named Viper. Not his real name.
Really?
I know. Look, I haven't been able to get much info on him, just that he's somewhat new in town and very scary.
And do you think these are the two that came in the bar that night?
It seems pretty likely. They fit the description.
Any idea where they are or where they might be found?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, they usually hang out at this club on 5th. So I'm told. But they haven't been seen lately.
You know, even if we found them, they probably wouldn't admit to killing Cy. But you know, I may have another angle. Thank you. Miss Burke, you're a server at the tap room, is that correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Allister frequents that establishment?
Jimmy? Yeah, he used to be there all the time.
Used to?
Well, not anymore, obviously.
Yes, obviously. But just before the murder of Cy Claiborne, did you see Jimmy around much?
For a few weeks before that, we didn't see him much.
Why is that?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Miss Burke, I'm sure you get a lot of people that are in the bar regularly. Are you aware of any particular individuals that Jimmy might have hung around with?
Oh, sure.
And would you call these people law-abiding citizens?
Objection. Your Honor. Counsel is asking the witness to pass legal judgment on people who aren't on trial here.
Your Honor, what I'm trying to establish is the character of the people my client associated with.
These people aren't on trial. James Allister is.
Gentlemen, Counselor, if you have a point, make it quickly.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Burke, were you aware of two men coming into the tap room the night before the murder took place?
Yeah, they made a pretty big scene coming in.
Do you know these men?
Only by reputation. They're a couple of goons.
Goons.
Yeah, you know, like muscle
By muscle, you mean they beat people up?
or worse.
Or worse? Do you know who these men work for?
Yeah, everyone does. Mickey the Whale.
Mickey the Whale. I assume you're referring to Mickey Marody?
Yeah.
Do you know why these men were looking for Jimmy?
I assumed he owed Mickey money.
Objection. Speculation.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Your witness.
Miss Berg, how well did you know the defendant?
Well, Jimmy was around every day, so I got to know him pretty well.
Would you consider him law-abiding?
Objection. Now look who's asking the witness to pass legal judgment.
Well, the defense did open the door, and the defendant is on trial.
Overruled. But you're on a very short leash, so get to the point.
Are you aware of times that Mr. Allister didn't obey the law?
He mostly just seemed like he was out for a good time.
Yeah, but did his good time include illegal activities?
Well, yeah, he was into some illegal gambling. That's what got him in trouble with Mickey.
No further questions.
Cross, Your Honor. Miss Berg, have you ever known Jimmy to be violent or abusive in any way?
No, Jimmy was a sweetheart, even when he was loaded.
Did anyone else come in looking for Jimmy that night in question?
Cy Claiborne came in looking for Jimmy.
No further questions, Your Honor.
So you claim that you weren't at the Hogan farm the night of the murder. Is that correct?
Yes, I told you that already.
But you were living there?
Yes.
And it's the middle of the night. Your room, your bed is just a short distance from the murder scene. But at a time when you should have been there, you weren't?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Sustained. Counselor, would you please move on with the questioning?
Jimmy, I guess the big question is, if you weren't there, where were you?
Well,
It's a simple question. If not at the scene of this horrendous murder, where were you at?
Your Honor, he's badgering the witness.
Counselor, I realize that there's extenuating circumstances with the witness. The fact that I left you try this case is because you assured me that you could be objective.
Yes, Your Honor. Where were you the night of the murder?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
I mean, I owed some guys some money and they were looking for me. Oh, while I was hiding, I might have passed out.
So you were drunk, high, something, and you don't have any idea your whereabouts? Is that correct?
Yes.
Then how can you be so sure that you weren't at the Hogan farm that night? Yeah, that's what I thought. No further questions.
Jimmy, who were these men who were after you?
Thugs.
Can you be a little more specific?
I made a couple of bad bets and owed some money to a loan shark. He doesn't take kindly to not being paid back, so he sent his goons after me.
Why did you feel that you needed to hide from them?
Because they hurt people.
Hurt people?
Yeah, they break fingers, legs, heads.
They just hurt them? Nothing more?
Well, the goons after me have been known to take it too far.
Too far?
They've killed people.
So you were hiding because you were afraid for your life?
Yes, of course.
So Jimmy, if someone like Cy Claiborne were trying to stop them from hurting you or possibly killing you, what would they do to them?
They'd likely bump them off, too.
Bump them off. You mean kill them?
Yeah.
So did these men know you were staying at the Hogan farm?
Yeah, that's why I couldn't go back there.
No further questions, Your Honor. Why would Jimmy want Cy Claiborne dead? There's no real motive. The defense would argue that it's because he was going to be fired. But why would he care about being fired when he was hiding for his life? Jimmy Allister was as devastated as anyone at the murder. This man, Cy Claiborne, gave him a chance when no one else would. That is not a relationship that would end in murder. We have presented evidence that there were men looking for Jimmy who could easily have perpetrated this awful crime. So, could they have committed this murder? Certainly, and that is called reasonable doubt. Why would Jimmy go back to a place in the middle of the night where he thought he may be killed? My client, my son, is not guilty of murder. He may have made bad choices and hurt people, even people close to him, but that does not make him guilty of murder. Why are you prosecuting him?
It's my job.
It's your job to prosecute your brother?
No, it's my job to prosecute criminals. The fact that my brother's a criminal isn't my fault.
Okay, so if he wasn't your brother, would you still think he was guilty?
Of course.
So if Jimmy were someone else's brother and you didn't know the history, that he had walked out on his family, basically disowned them, took money from them, would you still feel as passionate about prosecuting him for a crime that has no real evidence connecting him to the murder?
But I do know, and it is relevant. It goes to his character, and that's evidence.
So being his brother has influenced your opinion,
That's not the point.
but it is relevant.
Have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
What say the jury?
We, the jury, find the defendant